we're going to move on to Relvis Martinez suspended. So for 80 games for performance enhancing drug. So Friday night, he actually gets called up to the Blue Jays for clomiphene, which he said in a statement, he came out and said that is for a fertility drug. Because him and his girlfriend, like, cool, right? And I respect that because, you know, some couples really do have a hard time conceiving and, you know, they have to get help to do that. Now, his mistake is not reporting it to the league because chances are the league is going to be like, yeah, dude, that's fine. Like, we know you're trying to start a family. Like, they can take to make sure that it's safe. I kind of read between the lines and it sounded like he was trying to have his doctor keep it hush hush because he didn't want his family to know, he didn't want the public to know, which I get. I totally get that part of it. But when you are I would say consistently drug tested for your job for performance enhancing drugs, and there's safeguards in place, be like what you're taking. It's kind of a touchy subject because I get it. That is a very private matter, right? Trying to conceive and not being able to. I get it.
Absolutely.
But your job, your career, you're the number 2 prospect in the Blue Jays organization. Like, your time is coming. That team stinks. Back down for 80 games, this information.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate wanting privacy with that situation. I mean, as a normal human being, you'd want privacy. You wouldn't want to go tell the world what you're doing. But at the same time, when your job has rules and you can't break them in order to keep that job, and all you've got to simply do is just tell the league, hey, by the way, I'm taking this. Here's my doctor's prescription. Like, it's all good. Like, I'm not doing it to cheat. Then I think you have to. I will say fertility drugs were one of the things guys were using to either gain an advantage or mask the steroids, which is why those fertility drugs are such a problem for the league. But it's definitely it's a tough balancing act for a player because you do want privacy, understood, but you can't run the risk of having what just happened where you get called up, dream achieved, and then boom, 80 game suspension, and the organization's looking at you like, dude, what were you doing?
Like I said, there is safeguards in place. Like, it needs to be taken care of the correct way. So.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if there is a medical need for it or a reason for it, like MLB does grant waivers and exemptions, and that's all he needed. He didn't have to pretend or hide or try to sneak it by. Like, he just had to say that he was doing this, and there would have been a way around it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. I get it. You have to be suspended. He's taken ownership for it. But it's still, you know, they put the safeguards in place for that reason, and he didn't take those proper steps. So that's
which is a shame to have that black mark on you now for something that was so simple.
Right. And like I said,
it's a silly mistake.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's hard. It's hard. There is a line there because you want to keep that stuff private. I totally get that. But you can't in this situation. You just can't.
You can't. And it stinks. A normal person can, but unfortunately when you're in Major League Baseball and you're paid that kind of money and you play that kind of game and you entertain that number of people, you don't get to play by everybody else's rules.
Yeah. So we'll move on to last night's game, and the Mets are coming in to close the game, or actually I should say Edwin Diaz is coming in to close the game, and he gets caught with sticky stuff on his glove, suspended 10 games officially today. He says it's the same stuff he puts on his hands every single day. He said it's just rosin and. But these guys know at this point, you can't have a buildup of it anywhere. They check you thoroughly before you come in, after the inning. Like, you have to know at this point.
Yeah, and closers especially. Closers, before the closer steps on that mound, to throw his first warm-up pitch, the umpires check him. And they do that because they know how important that ninth inning is, the amount of leverage in that situation. So they check the close before they even threw a pitch. I mean, Diaz didn't even get all the way to the mound before he got ejected. And ESPN zoomed in to show his hand. He had stuff all over his hands. Like his, and Eduardo Perez was saying, yeah, rosin creates this. There is a residual, dirt will stick to it. It will discolor your hands, but like that was a lot. Yeah. So like and that was really what it came down to. Like you can see the umpires like rubbing his hand, looks at him and goes, it's too much was what it looked like he said. And then he threw him out because like it was thick. Like you could see it all over his hands. And again, like these guys know better. And to get thrown out in that situation, when you're trying to make a comeback from injury and you haven't had a good season, that's just another silly mistake, a lapse in judgment to get caught like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can make excuses for these guys anymore for this. They know the repercussions of it, and they still mean it does happen. It depends on the side. You're using the rosin, but you can rub it off or clean it off before you go in or something like that. There's no excuse for it anymore at this point.
No, so. It's been the rule for several years now. Like you've come out and pitched many times. Like there's no reason for you to get caught there.
Yeah. And then the guy that came into with too much sticky stuff before. So it's just kind of funny that, the guy coming in, the reliever, had already been suspended for it before. But Diaz, I haven't heard if he's going to appeal it or not, or just ride the 10-game suspension or not. Like I said, the sentence was just handed down today. So officially today, we all kind of knew the 10-game suspension was coming.
I mean, it'd be silly. It'd be silly to it'd be silly of him to even attempt to get it overturned because there's video evidence of what happened and the rule's clear. Like it's an umpire judgment call and there's really he's got no grounds to even try to go and appeal it. But if I'm him, I just take your 2-week vacation and learn from it.
Yep, absolutely.